A lot of you asked me to explain the Loomis method, so this time I'm showing it in my own way, step by step, using only one simple HB pencil. So even if you're a beginner, you can follow along and get results like this. And I'll also show you something most artists don't talk about, the mistakes and how to catch them before they ruin your drawing. First, convert your reference to black and white, so you can clearly see the full range of values. Next, try to visualize the skull structure, because the Loomis method is based on the skull, not just the outer shape. Then, start with a circle like this. Now here's the key. Instead of placing a horizontal line across the middle of the circle, start by building a square inside it. But notice, it's not perfectly horizontal. From there, you can add your horizontal guidelines, parallel to the edges of that square. And finally, place another line for the chin. Next, add a vertical line running through the center of the brows and the nose. At this point, we're focusing more on the features and less on the circle itself because of the slight tilt of the face. Finally, define the jaw lines on both sides, like this. And that's your first stage, the structure of the face. Now, I actually made a small mistake here, but I'll show you exactly when I caught it. Now we move into the second stage, what I call simplifying with straight lines. Now here's something important about the nose structure. I like to simplify it into basic forms. Think of it as three main parts, a central mass and two side forms. This makes it much easier to understand the volume before adding any details. So instead of drawing the nose directly, you're building it step by step. At this point, I avoid curves completely, because the brain naturally understands complex shapes better when they're broken down into straight lines. And this is something most artists tend to skip. They jump straight into details. Now remember the mistake I mentioned earlier? This is where I noticed it. After building the nose structure, I realized that the chin line was sitting a bit too low. So I adjusted it slightly upward, and now the four main guidelines are properly aligned. From here, to define the width of the mouth, I use two angled lines. They connect from the sides of the nose, toward the jaw and the ear area. This helps me understand exactly where the mouth should end on both sides. At this point, the structure is complete, so I added a few light lines to indicate the hair boundaries, just to prepare for the next stage. And keep in mind, the hair volume is slightly larger than the circle, because this circle represents the skull, not the outer shape of the hair. In fact, after watching this video, I want you to try these exact steps and come back and tell me if it made a difference. And this leads us to the longest stage. If you really understand what I'm about to show you, it will actually feel like the easiest one. For the neck, start by placing two simple lines. These lines help you define the position and width of the neck in a very simple way. Make sure the size feels proportional to the head. Not too wide and not too narrow, so everything stays balanced. From there, add a few light lines to suggest the clothing, focusing only on the main shapes and the direction of the folds, without overcomplicating the details. And finally, I clean up the construction lines so they don't distract me as I move into the details. The first thing you might expect is that I'll start with the eyes. But I'm not going to do that, for two reasons. First, I prefer starting with the nose, because it sits at the center of the face, and everything else can be built around it. That doesn't mean starting with the eyes is wrong, it's just a different approach. The second reason is important. I want to show you that even before finishing the eyes, the portrait can already feel close to the reference. And there's something else. Leaving the eyes until the end creates a completely different feeling. When you finally draw them, you start to see the life come into the portrait. And personally, that's a moment I really enjoy. Once I finish shading the nose, I always start by focusing on the darkest areas first, then gradually move toward the lighter ones. After building the surrounding areas, I leave it for now and move up to the eyebrows. Here, pay close attention to the direction of the hair strands and the thickness of the brow, because it has a big impact on the overall expression. Then I move to the second eyebrow, using the same approach, following the flow of the hair and controlling the thickness. At this point, it might feel like everything is working well, but sometimes a small mistake can go unnoticed. And that actually happened here. I'll show you what it is in a moment. After finishing the brows, I move down to the eyelids. I complete one side, then match it with the other, making sure they sit on the same level. And here's where the issue showed up. After finishing the eyelids, I realized that the left eyebrow was slightly higher than it should be, and also a bit thicker. That would definitely affect the overall balance of the portrait. So I fix it by rechecking the distance between the brow and the eyelid, adjusting the shape, and cleaning the excess using an eraser. From there, I move into the upper lash line, which is naturally thicker than the lower one. Then I repeat the same process on the other eye. Finally, I add the subtle creases under the eye, trying to match the same size and shape from the reference. But also, keep in mind the tilt of the face, so the line isn't perfectly horizontal, it follows the angle of the head. Now, let's focus on the area under the eyes. You'll notice there are subtle creases and small transitions in this area. Pay attention to the darker zones first, especially around the lower eyelid and the upper cheek. These shadows help define the form and add depth to the face. Start building from the darker values, then gradually move toward the lighter areas. Don't try to overdo the details here. At this point, I'm ready to move into the mouth, because now I've already established most of the proportions. With the eyes in place, it becomes much easier to compare the sides of the mouth. And since the nose is already defined, I can place the upper lip more accurately based on the distance between it and the base of the nose. The lower lip then follows naturally, building off the structure of the upper one. And don't forget, everything needs to follow the same tilt of the face. If even one feature breaks that alignment, the whole portrait can start to feel off. At this stage, it's very important to keep comparing your drawing to the reference. But here's something a lot of people don't realize. Sometimes, the more you stare at your drawing, the harder it becomes to see mistakes. So here's a simple trick. After finishing a small section, step away for a few minutes. Take a short break, then come back and look at it again. You'll be surprised how easily you can spot errors. That's actually why many artists notice problems only after taking a photo of their drawing. So try this. Throughout the whole process, take 2 or 3 short breaks and see if it makes a difference. Now to confirm everything is working, I use these guidelines to check the alignment. If you look closely, you'll see that everything is still consistent with the reference. And that means we're on the right track. After finishing the mouth, it becomes much easier to define the outer boundaries of the face, especially the chin area. Because now you already understand the proportions and alignment, so placing the chin and connecting it with the jawline becomes much more accurate. That's why building the features first makes everything else easier. One very important thing. From the beginning, try to estimate the side boundary of the face by observing the distance between the outer edge of the eye and where the ear begins. This distance gives you a strong visual reference for the correct width of the face. Don't try to guess randomly. Always relate it back to the eye position. From there, start moving downward following the same tilt of the face, keeping that same angle consistent as you build the side of the face. This helps you connect the cheek, jawline, and chin in a natural flow. And most importantly, it prevents the face from becoming too wide or too narrow. So with just this simple observation, you can control the proportions much more accurately. Then I move into the neck, again, starting from the darker areas and working toward the lighter ones. And finally, I move up to the forehead to complete the shading of the face. And now we move into the hair. This part might look difficult, but it's actually much simpler than most people think. A lot of artists struggle here, so let me show you what really makes the difference. First, focus on the areas where the light doesn't reach. Those darker masses are the most important. Second, pay attention to the direction of the hair. You don't need to draw every single strand, just focus on these two things. Start from the darker areas and move toward the lighter ones, and you'll notice the hair starts to feel natural. But if you start from the tip of the strand, you'll get a sharp pencil edge that doesn't look realistic. So watch closely how I build it here, and you'll understand exactly what I mean. And just like that, you can finish the hair without overworking it. If you notice, up to this point I haven't even drawn the eyes yet, and the portrait is already starting to look clear. That's a strong sign that your structure is working. You've already completed a big part of the process, and that gives you a sense of confidence to keep going. And the best part is, when you finally add the eyes at the end, it brings everything together and gives the portrait a completely different energy. That moment alone makes you even more excited to finish the drawing. One more thing, avoid using the same pressure throughout the whole area. Vary your pressure to create contrast and separation. This helps the hair feel more natural and less flat. Before moving on, I want you to do one important check. Compare the overall proportions of the face. Look at the 4 main guidelines and see if they're aligned properly. If one of them is off, even slightly, the portrait can start to feel unbalanced. So take a moment here and adjust anything that doesn't match. That's why I keep saying, work step by step and keep comparing constantly. It saves you a lot of effort later and helps avoid that frustration when the final result doesn't feel right. But here's the good part. If you've been following these steps, you should already be very close to a strong result. Now, before moving to the body, I finish the ears. I check where they start and end in relation to the face. Usually, they begin slightly below the brow and end just above the base of the nose. That shift happens because of the tilt of the head. Finally, I move into the clothing. This part supports the portrait, but it doesn't need the same level of detail. The main focus here is still the face. And now we move to my favorite part, the eyes. Like I mentioned earlier, this is what really brings the portrait to life. There are 3 key things you need to focus on. First, the position of the pupil and the direction it's facing. Second, the size of the pupil, because even a small change here can completely affect the expression. Third, the highlight. That small light reflection is extremely important because it also defines the direction of the gaze. Once you establish these 3, you can start building the shading around them. And after finishing this stage, you might start noticing a few small adjustments across the face. These usually don't appear until the eyes are complete, and that's completely normal, because you're not copying a photo, you're constructing a portrait. But here's something important. These small adjustments are not really mistakes. They don't affect the overall result. The real mistakes are the ones we talked about earlier, the ones that impact the structure and proportions. If you're still watching, this was a challenge for me, using only a simple HB pencil. So anyone can try this and draw a portrait like this. If it helped, like, subscribe. It really helps me keep going, and I truly appreciate it.
If your portraits still don't look right, you're probably making this mistake.
Watch this next video.